Harvey York's Rise to Power. Chapter 5. Sir, I'll report to the chief immediately. You, don't try to bargain with me. Otherwise, I'll ruin the entire York enterprise. Before the person at the other end of the phone could speak, Harvey hung up the phone immediately. In the Gold Coast villa area, every villa was specifically designed by an internationally famous designer. From the type of ceramic tiles up until the type of trees, they were all chosen with great care. It was indeed not a place where one could afford to buy even though they were rich. At that moment, Harvey was sitting casually on the sofa at the balcony. Across him was the current chief of the Yorks, Jonathan York. He was Harvey's uncle, and he was the one who asked his driver to pick Harvey up and gave him a ride to the villa just now. Looking at the carefree Harvey, Jonathan smiled and said, "Harv, we haven't met each other for so many years now. You seem so much more handsome and energetic. Uncle, we don't have to beat around the bush. Just go straight to the point. Tell me, how do you want me to help the Yorks? How do you want me to be in control of the entire situation?" Harvey asked calmly, and he did not even look at Jonathan. Jonathan sneered. "Harv, you're certainly a straightforward person. Then, I'll be frank with you." At that moment, Jonathan appeared quite helpless. He was an influential and powerful person in 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐸. He could provide a great impact on the entire city just by doing a mere action. But now he had no choice but to be humble and submissive before Harvey, given that he had a request to make. Our family followed the trend and invested the money in the stock market of the oil futures. Consequently, we suffered a great loss. Now our family's funding is... Cut to the chase. How much do you need? Not much, just around $1 billion. FCK. Harvey's eyes twitched slightly. $1 billion? Why don't you go and rob a bank? Regarding that, Chief York, I still have some other business to deal with. I'll leave first. Harvey stood up immediately and was about to leave. Harv, Jonathan became quite anxious at that moment. He said immediately, "We do indeed need this much money. If we don't have it, our funding will be cut, and our large enterprise will be ruined. Besides, I can fulfill your requests." Harvey looked deep into Jonathan's eyes and said rather helplessly, "I saw your sincerity. But the problem is, where do I get such a great amount of money?" Harv, do you really want to see our family be ruined entirely? You have around $1 trillion in your offshore account. You can help save the Yorks just by giving us a tiny bit of that. Jonathan became so nervous that his eyes became bloodshot. Don't forget where you came from. At first, Harvey was smiling. When he heard that, his facial expression worsened. "Uncle, from what I remembered, the entire York family believed that I couldn't be the heir of the Yorks at that time. There are around a few hundreds of us in the Yorks. You interrogated and condemned me vehemently. I was once a great contributor to the family, but I was kicked out like a bad egg. Now you're asking me to remember where I came from. Don't you think it's rather ridiculous? Why don't you think about how much I earned for the family during all those years, working extremely hard? You enjoyed the money and profits I earned and refused to approve of me at the end. I've become a son-in-law for the other family for the past few years. I led a terribly miserable life. You didn't even come to visit or lend me a helping hand. If you're not in a great crisis, would you still remember about the previous heir now?" Harvey said every word distinctly. Jonathan's eyes twitched slightly. He said immediately, "Harv, we were wrong. Let us apologize to you. We'll ask for your forgiveness sincerely. But we need you to help us to resolve this crisis first. I can make the decision here. From now onward, you're the CEO of York Enterprise." Although York Enterprise was not the biggest company under the Yorks, it was one with the most potential. It focused on angel investments. Besides, it owned the shares of a lot of companies in the entire 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐸, including numerous new products and plans which were about to be listed. All this while, that enterprise was under the charge of Jonathan's daughter, Belle York. She was Harvey's cousin. Surprisingly, Jonathan was willing to hand over the enterprise to him. "Fine, it's a deal." Harvey considered it for a moment. At first, he was reluctant to bother about the Yorks, but he still remembered what happened that morning clearly. If he did not retrieve the enterprise, he would be easily bullied and condemned by literally anybody. "Don't worry, I'll get it done nicely. You just need to go to the enterprise and sign the document tomorrow. Besides, I'll arrange for the roses from Prague too." Jonathan heaved a sigh of relief. If Harvey did not agree to help them, the Yorks would certainly suffer terribly even though they did not go into bankruptcy. Harvey could not care less about him. If he was unable to deal with a small matter like that, He could not even survive in the business field. By the way, lend me this suit. Harvey was about to leave, but he saw a new suit on the sofa, and his eyes brightened. He was about to attend a gathering with his classmates from college that night, and he was still anxious that he did not have some nice clothes to wear. It was too late for him to go and buy one now, so he decided to borrow it from Jonathan. It's nothing. If you like it, just take it with you. It's a gift from Armani, and the price tag is still intact. Jonathan nodded casually. Although that suit was expensive, it meant nothing if compared to $1 billion. How could a chief of the Yorks care about that? Harvey did not think much about it. So, he went to change into that suit in the changing room immediately. He then glanced at his own shoes and turned to look at Jonathan's shoe cabinet in disdain. Jonathan seemed to have smelly feet. I don't want to wear his shoes at all. I'll just go in my slippers. He heard that every classmate would attend the gathering that night. It seemed like the beauty of the college that year, when he saw Elle would be there too. Harvey was slightly eager. After Harvey left the villa neighborhood, he whistled and rode on his old electric bike to go to the Platinum Hotel. The gathering would be held there, and he was afraid that he would be late if he was too slow. Suddenly, a loud car horn was heard. A Porsche stopped right beside Harvey, and the window of the car was rolled down slowly. He saw his mother-in-law taking off her sunglasses and looked at him coldly. He soon became awkward. Although Lillian Yates was Harvey's mother-in-law, she appeared just like a 30-year-old woman since she took good care of her appearance and health. She appeared elegant, and one could easily discern the slight resemblance between her and Mandy, since both of them were extremely beautiful. However, she was looking at Harvey at that moment. She then said coldly, "Where did you get that suit?" For the 3 years that Harvey was taken in, the person whom he was afraid of the most was Lillian. Hearing that, he said with a soft voice immediately, "Mom, I borrowed it from a friend." "Oh, do you even have friends?" Lillian smiled coldly. She then said, "Somebody told me what happened today at the company. Since you're incompetent in doing anything successfully, just go home and pack up your things tonight. Sign the divorce agreement tomorrow. Don't worry, I'll pay you the alimony." A cold shiver ran down his spine. "But, Mom, I love Mandy truly. I can't live without her." Hearing that, Lillian laughed coldly and said, "Don't address me as your mom. I don't deserve that. If I do indeed become your mom, I'm afraid that even my ancestors would become quite frustrated about it. Besides, you claim that you love my daughter. How? How could you love her, since you're such a useless person? What else could you do except the house chores? Are you even aware that you've ruined the prime years of my daughter's life for the past 3 years? Just now Don called me up. He said that he's willing to pay $1 million as the wedding gift as long as I give him my blessing and let him marry Mandy. Do you know how much that is? I'm afraid that you're not even certain about that."